focusing on too.
And if we look at that, if I can just get my producer Anna to bring that map up again, because I think it's really important to tell our viewers where this might be going, because obviously Lysychansk is one, but if you look at the Donbass, that was the aim from day one. Does Russia, I mean, Putin sounds very confident, does Ukraine have the means to keep this fight on, given that it's outmanned really so far?
Absolutely, outmanned and outgunned. We've heard from Ukrainian military officials, from President Zelensky himself, stressing that Ukraine simply needs more modern weaponry from its Western allies in order to hold these lines and in order to counter Russia's offensive. And of course, we do know that Russia is looking now to focus its attention on the neighboring Donetsk region to establish that total control over the Donbass. We heard from the British Ministry of Defense today issuing its latest intelligence report, warning that Russia will almost certainly switch its focus there. The question now is, how long can Ukraine hold these lines without a boost in that military support from its Western allies that Ukraine has repeatedly called for and President Zelensky appealed for last night in his nightly address?
Well, let me try and get an answer to that question with our next guest. Nada, thank you very much. Well, Ukraine says the decision to withdraw from Lysychansk was a difficult one, but the right one. The question is, where does this leave the operation in the east of the country right now? Is this something that Nada obviously was hinting at? Let's bring in someone on the front line of this story. Yurik Sak is an advisor to Ukraine's defense minister and joins us now from western part of the country. So let me start right there. Where does this leave the east of the country, the battle, because obviously you've lost Lysychansk. That was fierce and protracted battle. Give us a sense of why Ukrainian forces decided to withdraw there.
Good evening. The battle for Lysychansk followed the battle for Severodonetsk, which is literally, if you look at the map, you will see that it is almost like two districts of one city. And, the Russian aggressor wanted to conquer the whole of Ukraine in 3 days, but they were fighting and having trouble and struggling to actually take over Severodonetsk and Lysychansk for over 7 weeks. So Ukrainian armed forces have completed their military objective in terms of exhausting the enemy, in terms of incurring losses on the enemy, in terms of allowing the Ukrainian armed forces, other groupings of the Ukrainian army, to relocate to other defensive lines, pre-prepared defensive lines. And of course, we understand that the next target very likely will be the part of Donetsk region, in particular the city of Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. But we have a very capable and very highly motivated and determined army in that part of Donbass. And of course, we are counting on our international partners, and we are hoping to receive more heavy weaponry soon.
So, Yuri, let me just break that down. I mean, what we've heard from regional forces was that this was a strategic withdrawal, but this is not a loss by any stretch of the imagination, is what you're telling me.
For us, for Ukrainians, of course, the loss or the temporary retreat or withdrawal of our army from any city, no matter how small, the loss of every meter of our land is very important and significant. But at the same time, we, and you as well, you can see that Russian aggressor, these war criminals who are leading a genocidal war against Ukraine, they are using the scorched earth tactics, which means they are using heavy artillery, tens of thousands of artillery rounds a day. And they are, before entering these cities, they're raising them to the ground. So if you look at any city which was recently invaded by Russia, and I will repeat, these are temporarily ruined and occupied cities because we will deoccupy them and we will rebuild them. But every city they've invaded is reduced to rubble. So, of course, in these circumstances, the Ukrainian army, made a tactical maneuver to withdraw from Lysychansk with the view to regrouping and then holding counterattacks. Counterattacks which we are already successfully carrying out in the south of Ukraine, around Kharkiv and in Zaporizhia Oblast.
So yes. A tactical maneuver, Yuri. Where are Ukrainian troops moving to now? I mean, is the next target here Donetsk? And if so, how are you preparing for the battle ahead?
Well, of course, the tactics and the strategy for our armed forces is the exclusive competence of the general staff of the Ukrainian army. So, and of course, nobody discloses them ahead of the battles. But I assure you that we have a very capable command. We have very capable military and political leadership. And I will repeat that we need to receive the heavy weaponry faster, because this will be a factor that will determine how soon we will be able to deoccupy the territories occupied by the aggressor. And of course, this will determine how efficiently we will be able to resist.
But Yuri, for so long, I was in Ukraine several months ago. For so long, we have been hearing for calls from Ukrainian officials that they need more weapons. We've been hearing from NATO, we've been hearing from the G7 talking about unity, saying they are delivering more. Are they not arriving, Yuri?
They are arriving, and I would like to use this opportunity to thank all of our international partners, and in particular the United States of America, for their leadership. We are receiving heavy weaponry. Look, we have received by now even the HIMARS systems, which was unthinkable just a couple of weeks ago. We already have received over 155 howitzers and cannons from the US, from other international partners. But what we are saying is that we are thankful for what we are receiving, but the situation on the battle line on the front is such that we require to receive more and faster.
So more and faster. But are you confident, very quickly, are you confident that Ukrainian forces can hold on to the Donetsk region?
We have proven time and again that our Ukrainian army is heroically capable of throwing the enemy out. We have done this in Kyiv, we have done this in Chernihiv, we have done this around Kharkiv, and I assure you, we will do it everywhere else. Just recently, we have liberated the Snake Island in the Black Sea, which was also a very important strategic point. And today, a Ukrainian flag was delivered to the Snake Island. So this is what will happen to all of the temporarily occupied territories, and Ukraine will be victorious, and the war criminals will be held to justice and tried for their war crimes.
Yuri Saksa, really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And still to come tonight, Shireen Abu Akleb's family say they